to another Unity 5 tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add a lobby system to your networked game. So in this game here that I've got, it's the smooth camera follow version of the multiplayer car that we created in the last tutorial. To add a lobby system over the top is actually easier than you might think, because Unity supplies all of the code that you need. So if we just go into the asset store, what you need to look for and add to your project is Network Lobby. And it's free, and you need to import that in. Now when you import it, in the assets you will get a lobby folder which has all the bits and pieces that you need for adding the lobby. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, we need a new scene. So I'm going to go File, New Scene, and we're going to File, Save that scene, and call it Lobby. I always call it Loggy. I don't know why. Okay, so there's our scene. Now into this scene, we'll go into the Prefabs folder of our lobby that we've just downloaded. In there you'll find a lobby manager. You want to grab that lobby manager and drag and drop it into the hierarchy, and that will bring up this interface. Now if I just go into the 2D view here so you can see that, this is the lobby created with the new UI system. And so you've got all your buttons and whatnot there. Now, you can move these around as you like. So if you wanted that button over here, you just move it like that. This is not a tutorial on the UI system, but it's just elementary to change what these all look like just by selecting them in the hierarchy and then going through and finding where the images are attached and the colors that are set to them. So for example, if we wanted to change that top panel, which is this bit here, to a different color, then we would select it and go over and change it to, let's make it bright purple or something like that. And then you can select all of these other buttons and change their images as well. All right, so we now have this lobby system. Now the lobby itself is a game object, and it has this don't destroy on load component here, which means it will get copied across to the next scene that's loaded. So we want that on, because then we can have our normal game that we've already created using this lobby. To make the lobby work, if you have a look what's in there, there's a canvas, but there's no event system. And you need an event system in your scene in order for the canvas objects to register clicks and changes. So with that lobby selected, let's just right click, go to UI, and we go down to event system and add that, just like that. So the event system is now attached to the lobby and should go wherever that lobby goes. Now, to make the lobby system work, it's just a matter of setting a few of the exposed variable values that's in this lobby manager script that's attached to the lobby manager object that we've just added. The first thing we need to add is the lobby scene and the play scene, which are just here. Now, this is the lobby scene that we're working in, and the play scene is the one in which I've got the car, so our main one that we had before. Now those two scene files, if we click on assets in the project, we'll be able to find them. Let me just make this a bit bigger. Okay, so here's the lobby and here's our main game from before. Now before you can add those into here, those two scenes need to be in your build settings. So go up to File, Build Settings, and as you can see, there's nothing in here at the moment. We need to add the lobby scene, so drag and drop that into there. The lobby scene needs to be the one on the top of all of these, because whatever's at the top will be the one that runs first when it's built out. Okay, so they're the only two scenes that we need, and that's all we need to do for now in there, so shut that. Okay, now we grab the lobby scene and drag and drop it over onto the lobby scene spot in the lobby manager, and then put main and drag and drop it on the play scene there. Now, just underneath those two scenes, there's a Show Lobby Gui tick box. If you tick that on, when it runs, you will get the old GUI system showing up over the top of your new UI system, which you don't want. Okay, if you didn't have this UI system, then you might want to use that old one, but it's already there, so we're going to use it. Now, you've got some values here to set up and play with. First of all, you've got a maximum number of players that your game will allow, or that can actually be in your lobby. I'm going to set that to 4, just because I can, not because I'm going to actually have 4 players, because that would be impractical to show you on the screen. Then I've got the maximum players per connection, which I'll just set that down to 1. And I've got the minimum number of players. This is the number of players that the lobby will wait for to arrive at your game before the game starts to run. Okay, so we're going to set that to 2. Now the lobby also needs a player prefab, and this has got all the player info in it. Now you'll see that that's already populated with what looks like some C# code, which is a prefab in the lobby system. So if you're going to lobby and prefab, you'll find that there's this player info here. If this is missing, this player info, then you want to drag and drop this player prefab over onto there. Now, we'll see the effects of this player info in a moment. So it's actually storing the name of the player and the color that the player chooses to display. Then underneath that, there's a game player prefab, which is currently got nothing in there, or has an empty object. This is the player prefab that we've been using in our game. Now, our player prefab is that little orange car. So if we go back up to the main folder, up the top of assets, we can see our little orange car. That is our player character. Just to check that that is actually the networked one, if you just select it, have a look at the inspector, and it will have the network transform script and the network identity script, as well as the other scripts that we created for it. So that is the actual prefab we require. So select lobby again, and we're going to drag this player prefab onto this spot here. Now, if that little prefab doesn't have the correct components attached to it, like the network ID and that, it won't accept it into that spot. Okay, now before we move on to test all of this, I just want to show you one more thing in this lobby manager script, which is the pre-match countdown, where it's got 3 as a default. So once 2 players join that lobby and decide to play the game, you'll get up on the screen a countdown. So it'll go like match starting in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you can change that value there, and that's where you will know that that value comes from when you see it in a moment. Right, so that's pretty much all we have to do to set up the lobby. Wasn't that easy? The next step is to build this out. So to do that, we go File, and we go to Build Settings, and then you can set the player settings if you desire. So over here, I'm going to change the company name to Holistic 3D, and I've got a product name of Network Cars. That will do. And then we want to press Build. And we're going to build this file out, and I'm going to save it to my desktop, and then I'll actually make another few copies of the application that gets built out so that I can run it multiple times on the machine. Okay, so I've made a build of this onto my desktop, and I've copied that application file 2 times so that I've got 3 executable versions of that file. Now, on a Mac, you have to do that if you want to run it 3 times. I'm not sure about Windows, but I think it's probably the same case that you might have to do that. Because I don't think if you double click on an application icon and it's already running, that it will create another version of it. All right, so I've got these running in the background here. These are my copies. This first one, let's make this the server. So we're working down here in this manual connection area. I'll address this in the next tutorial. But first, let's just get it working on our local machine. So we're going to create a dedicated server on this machine. You can also have this instance as a client and the server, which makes no difference, but I just wanted to show you a dedicated server. Now that dedicated server, if you click dedicated server, it will create it on localhost. Localhost is the local server on your machine. It's the local server on everyone's machine. When you connect to localhost or the IP address 127.0.0.1, you're actually connecting to the server that the application is running on, the same machine, that is, no one else's machine. If you have this server here running on a different machine in your network and you want to connect to it, then you're going to have to put the IP address of that machine in here. Okay, but because these are all running on the same computer, we can use 127.0.0.1. Right, so this first one is going to join that game. And you'll see that we get this player one thing going on. Now you can change the color here and you can change your player name up here. These are what's contained in that player info prefab that I talked about. Now, currently, whatever you set in here is not linked to our car game. And I'll do that in a tutorial a little bit down the track, but not here. I just want to show you how this works. Okay, so this is player one. Now, when you're ready to join, you can just hit join, and that makes you ready. Now, let's go over to this one. Let's join. Now, you can see who's in that lobby, that there's two people. You're, in this case, ready, but the other person's still waiting. Okay, so that's this person here, and I can change the colors, and you can see that they're nicely synced across the network. And then as soon as I press join, because we only need two people to be in the lobby in order for the game to start running, you'll see that countdown happen. So here it is. Okay, and now the game loads. Oh, now we've got in our car game that both players end up spawning exactly the same place. So that's why you get a bit of jittering here. So you could add some extra code into your actual game itself so that people don't spawn in the same place. But it's not a huge problem, I guess. Now, what you will see on the server is that you're getting a replication of what is actually going on in these game worlds, which is nice, and so I can move these around. So as I said before, this is exactly the same little demonstration that we created beforehand, and I've done nothing to it whatsoever. All we've done is created that lobby scene. Now, the lobby itself, remember that I said it's a don't destroy on load, so that means it's still actually in here. And it's not shown at the moment, but if you hit the escape key, it will bring up your lobby so you can actually get out of the game and go back to the lobby if you wish. Okay, so that little bit of code, let me show you where that is for the escape key just before we finish up with this tutorial. So I'm just going to shut these down. Actually, it might just be quicker if I flick back to Unity. Okay, and in Unity, you can also run another instance from in here as well. But let's just have a quick look at this top panel, which seemed to disappear when the game ran. If we just open up that code and have a look down in here, you'll see that it gives you a hint that if you press the escape key, it will toggle the visibility. So when I first ran this, I was like, whoa, what happened to my header, and where's my back button? And just by having a look through this code, this is the code that comes with it, I was able to determine that it's obviously the escape key. So don't be afraid to dig through the code and see what's attached to what object if you're in doubt of what's going on, because that's really the only way you're going to figure out how this is working. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial, and that's how you set up the lobby for a local connection and on local networks and that type of thing. In the next part of this tutorial series, I'm going to show you how to use the Unity server, the cloud-based servers, to add your game into there and play a game from there. Right, so I hope that was helpful for getting the lobby manager up and working in your own games, or even on top of the sample orange car multiplayer game that I've created. And I'll talk to you in the next tutorial.